Welcome back. It's less than 3 weeks before the local government elections. Political parties have been out in full force canvassing for votes. But how much are young people actually catered for in their manifestos? To talk to us about what is likely to be key drivers for the youth vote is social analyst Tessa Dooms. Tessa, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. I'm not too sure we can say youth vote because you have to be over 18. Let's talk, though, about whether the manifestos are actually catering to younger people outside of saying we're going to create jobs for you.
Hi, Sean. So really one of the things that is missing in our politics today is an understanding that all issues are youth issues when you consider the demographics of our country. Over 60% of the population of this country is under 35, and of course that doesn't count for people under the age of 18 in the case of elections, but it's still a large part of the electorate. And that part of the electorate is not only interested in economic development, which is what many of the manifestos focus on, and much of the rhetoric around young people's needs focuses on either education or resulting economic participation. But of course, young people are also interested in issues around service delivery and the supply of basic goods in their lives. That is an enabling factor for them going forward. Young people in this age group are also parents, and so they're interested in issues around safety and safety in their communities for their children, the ability for communities to provide support structures and social development structures that can help their communities and their families do well. And so we need to start thinking about young people holistically and not just as economic actors that need jobs, but as people who are part of a full range of activities in our society, and particularly able to lead in many areas that political parties are overlooking.
Yeah, you know, in terms of the higher registration and voting among older people, older age groups, I should say, as well, this has often led to the IEC trying to focus on trying to get more young people to register to vote or to even go out and vote, right? But is there any sort of allegiance to a political party when this group actually goes to vote or not? Or is it totally dependent on what they hear and who they think will help take the country in the right direction?
Well, there's two dynamics at play here. The first is that we have decreasing numbers of new voters coming into the system. And that's a very, very worrying thing. So if you think about a cohort of 18-year-olds in every matric group, we're talking about over 1 million people, yet for this registration weekend that we've just had, we were talking about 100,000 new people in the 18 to 19 age group that registered to vote. So there's a waning interest in the vote. And that's not to be confused with an interest in politics or apathy about what's happening in the country. But young people certainly do not have as much confidence in the power of the vote that their parents or their grandparents may have. So that already is a dynamic to be concerned about. I think when it comes to who young people want to vote for, will vote for, it's really a split between two things. There is kind of historical allegiance because of family ties and community ties. Young people, especially when they're coming out of their teens into their 20s, most of their political decision making is around who they are in the same household with. And there's not a lot of political education that happens before the age of 18. To be fair, there's not a lot of political education that happens for most young people unless they're in student environments often, where they will then see student politics play itself out, and many young people make their decisions about parties they will support based on student politics environments. But if you're a young person fresh out of matric, your most politics is going to come from your immediate home. And we understand the history of our country, that liberation parties and parties that have a longer history, like a party like the DA, given its different iterations, that's where young people are getting their initial ideas from. And so in the first time that they're usually voting with their family, and then you'll see changing patterns in their second or their third vote if they are influenced by political parties that they engage with as individuals.
Yeah, that's so interesting and insightful. Thanks so much for your time, social analyst Tessa Dooms.